Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Expendables 3, starring Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Antonio Banderas, Jet Li, Wesley Snipes, Dolph Lundgren, Kelsey Grammer, Terry Crews, Randy Couture, Kellen Lutz, Ronda Rousey, Glenn Powell, Victor Ortiz, Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and directed by Patrick Hughes. Now, I'm very much looking forward to Patrick Hughes's Hitman's Bodyguard retrospective because there's a new one coming out later in August, depending on if they keep it there because of COVID reasons. Bastards. But, and why did I say mild language at the beginning? Because this is a PG 13 rated movie based on two R rated films. That's not acceptable. Let's see how unacceptable it is because I did see this in theaters and I don't remember it very well, so let's get into it. We start off with a prison that's being moved by a train, and the Expendables, Barney Ross, returned by Sylvester Stallone, Lee Christmas, returned by Jason Statham, Gunner, returned by Dolph Lundgren, and Toll Road, returned by Randy Couture, breaking out an old Expendable named Doc, played by Wesley Snipes, from the moving prison train, while Barney drives a helicopter in a PG 13 rating kind of way, which is completely pointless to the series now. Doc blows up the prison he was going to in a fake explosion, which felt very cheap. And it was really funny when the character was arrested for tax evasion, which reminds me of what happened to Wesley Snipes in real life. And the joke got me in a bad way that I shouldn't be laughing at in real life. We move on to Somalia, where the Expendables meet up with Hail Caesar, returned by Terry Crews. And I'm not liking these characters this time around, as we get a lot more to introduce, and my god, there's a lot of freaking characters in this movie, almost a boat full in my opinion. But the Expendables go on a job hunt, some bad guys led by Stonebanks, played by Mel Gibson. As the Expendables go on a ridiculous chase that is pretty staged, and Hail Caesar jumps into the back of the truck with a boat, and that was stupid. And there's too much gunplay in the first 20 minutes as Stonebanks takes off in a chopper and shoots Hail Caesar in the leg and in the arm, and they get out with a pretty bad explosion, and the score is more distracting this time than the last two times, I'll say. When the Expendables arrive back to America, Hail Caesar is taken to the hospital, and Trench, returned by Arnold Schwarzenegger, as well as Drummer, played by Harrison Ford, gets one more shot against Stonebanks. Meanwhile, Stonebanks is in Moscow, Russia, I'll say, who, as he wants to buy a painting that's shit, which is what he calls it, which is the dumbest reason ever. Barney retires the old Expendables and decides to hire some new ones, with Bonaparte, played by Kelsey Grammer, who he meets with in Las Vegas, and they meet Thorne, played by Glenn Powell, Luna, played by Ronda Rousey, Mars, played by Victor Ortiz, and Smiley, played by Kellen Lutz, and also meets Galgo, played by Antonio Banderas, but doesn't hire him. And I like Antonio Banderas in general because he's funny in general. But in this movie, I don't like... He's not. But not in this movie. But I don't like these recruits. They don't look ready, nor do they look tough enough against Stonebanks. They prepare to go to war as Christmas, Gunner, Toll Road, and Doc come by to torment the new group of Expendables, and Barney with the new recruits go on a plane along with Trench. And I'm thinking because they're so young and they're going to get caught, and from that scene on, it was very predictable in my mind. We get to Romania as Stonebanks arrives at his hotel, and they're spying on him as they pick him up at an art museum when I'm bored out of my frickin' mind. While they get Stonebanks in the pickup truck, and this is where the movie gets rather worse. Stonebanks' crew finds him rather easily with a GPS tracker, while he monologues to Barney and the kids, which felt very cliched to death. Barney gets in the water by Stonebanks' crew while the kids are kidnapped by Stonebanks, and he keeps them hostage, which doesn't make much sense as he should have killed them, and my disappointment in this movie keeps growing and growing. As this movie gets worse, Barney and Trench get back to America, and before he goes back to Romania, he's found by Galgo, who's getting on my nerves in this movie right now, right off the bat. And the movie is too long to the point they needed to cut at least 20 minutes of it. Christmas, Toro, Doc, and Gunner get on the plane, wanting to help Barney out against Stonebanks, and I'm getting tired at this point. And this movie, as drummer joins Trench and Yin Yang, returned by Jet Li to go after Stonebanks, and I'm suddenly getting ready to check out of this movie at this point. Just too many damn characters. Stop. They get to the location of Stonebanks and gets the kids out of there. And Stonebanks sends on a message and sets up C4 to explode. Thorne stops it at 3 seconds left, and tanks show up, and I thought, oh great, this movie can be over rather quickly. But Barney makes a bad speech and comes up with a plan to get out of the building with a shitload of gunplay that feels like a big freaking headache. This movie is poorly written and so bad on so many levels. A chopper comes in with on it, with Trench and Yin Yang as they shoot up the tanks, and these guys are getting on their own action as I can't follow what in the hell is going on, and I'm exhausted with this non-stop gunplay action as I'm having a headache at this point. Barney and Stonebanks' final battle is very choreographed as Barney kills them off, and in an explosion of a building where Barney almost dies but grabs the rope, and the old gang plus the new kids, plus Hale, Caesar, and Galgo, are now on a team of super Expendables, I'll say, and the climax annoyed me half to frickin' death, as it was headache worthy. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.7 out of 10. This movie was quite the headache. I remember as this was a disappointment after the first one. That was good. The second one was the middle of the road for me. And this is the worst I've seen this series go. And it's quite unfortunate. And if I were you guys, just stick with the first film. And the other two are very weak. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this Expendables series. And until next time, when there's another one, which there's rumors, you're welcome.